My next guest wrote in his book he is, quote, responsible for selling millions of guns. Former firearms executive and author of Gunfight, My Battle Against the Industry That Radicalized America, Ryan Busse, joins me now. So Ryan, you grew up with guns in Kansas. Why and how have guns become so culturally important in the U.S.?
Well, thanks for having me, Pamela. A couple different reasons, and there's really a couple different types of gun culture. One, like I grew up with, and so many other Americans grew up with, they were a part of my youth. I hunted and target shot with my dad and my brother and so many of my friends, and it was really a positive thing. There's also the sort of gun culture now that has been developed, especially since Barack Obama became president in 2008, but really a hateful, conspiracy-driven, racist-driven sort of gun culture that's on the fringes of otherwise responsible gun ownership. And that is the part of gun culture that is now taken over much of our politics. It's the part of gun culture that spurred many people to march on January 6th and invade the Capitol. And it's the part of gun culture that, frankly, is controlling our politics now. How
are they able to do that? If they're a fringe, why were they able to control the politics, in your view?
Well, much like a loud minority of what I think are Americans are controlling the politics of the right side of our country, so too are a loud minority of gun owners controlling the politics of the NRA and the politics of guns, which frankly is very intricately involved in the politics of the GOP. And it happens because they're loud and because they're good at what they do, and they're excellent at drumming up conspiracy theories and racism and getting people very, very frightened. It's really no different. There's a through line to the politics of the right.
In your view, do you think that they are preying on people's fear?
I don't only think they're preying on people's fear, I think they're creating fear. I think that I heard so many things in the industry as President Obama began to lead in the polls in 2007 that sounded eerily similar to me, to the precursors to QAnon. Things like Barack Obama is going to rewrite the Constitution, and Barack Obama is going to outlaw hunting ammunition, and Barack Obama doesn't want you to be able to defend your home, and things like that just sounded insane to me. And so when I heard QAnon theories espoused some years later, I thought, well, I've seen the precursor to this. I know where it all started.
So you call the gun industry a wild and secretive society. What do you mean by that?
Well, it is very similar to a very badly gerrymandered congressional district where only one belief can be espoused. There can be no, you're only pulled one direction. If anybody steps out of line, they're trolled, they're run out of the business, they're fired, their family is attacked. All those things happen to me or were attempted on me and my family. And so you end up with a culture that's very monolithic, very insular, tends to accept conspiracy theories, only gets pulled in the very radical extreme direction. And that's what you see now in the politics of the right, and it all started with the politics of the NRA.
I've asked so many Republicans to come on this show to talk about guns, and they won't, but they will talk privately. And, I've heard from GOP lawmakers talking about their constituents who, as you pointed out, are very loud, saying, are they, like, the first thing on their mind in some of these places are they going to take away our guns in Washington? I mean, that is the prevailing issue for some of these constituents of lawmakers. So what do you say to the opponents of gun reform who say, look, this is my right protected by the Second Amendment, and that the federal government, if it puts in gun reform, it's a slippery slope, that it's eventually going to lead to my guns being taken away?
Well, a couple of things. What you report from constituents is exactly why this issue is so difficult. Everybody thinks, they hear things like, well, background checks poll at 80% and red flag laws poll at 80%. Why can't we get those passed? It's because the politics of gun radicalization are the politics of the GOP now. They're woven through the DNA of the GOP. So it looks like a little pebble that we ought to be able to pick up and toss over. But it's actually attached to this much larger boulder, which is the DNA of the Republican Party. What I say to people who believe those sorts of things is no right exists without balancing responsibilities. And we have to balance those rights with responsibilities. There's nothing anti-gun about being okay with background checks or being okay with red flag laws or being okay with outlawing armed intimidation. That's not anti-gun. That's just pro-responsibility. We don't live any other area of our life where we let one supposed freedom that's enumerated in the Constitution, which the Second Amendment is, but we don't view any of those freedoms as absolute so that they will eventually undo our democracy. That's what I'm worried about with guns in America right now.
Ryan Busse, thank you. Really interesting hearing your perspective given your background. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And his book, Gunfight, My Battle Against the Industry That Radicalized America, is available now.